there has not been an increase. There's no epidemic. We have, on average in this country, about 20 cases a year. Hasn't really increased over the past 3 decades.
Thank you. I have, I think, about 15 minutes, although by my clock, I'm already done.
That mass shootings are not on the rise, according to you?
No, they're not on the rise. We have, on average, about 20 a year.
This is a rare event. It happens once in a while.
I have to say, it's hard to believe that this isn't an increasing trend, but that's what your data shows.
I don't want to minimize the pain and suffering of families, their neighborhoods, the whole nation, because these are awful, awful tragedies. So to say that they're not increasing doesn't mean they're not important. There's mass confusion about what mass shooting is.
Hate crime, terror attack, mass shooting with a military-style assault weapon.
A horrifying act of evil and terror.
Massacre at a gay nightclub.
The murder rate with guns has fallen 30%. Our gun problem is going down here, not up.
If you have been thinking that we live in an era that is more marked by this kind of mass bloodshed than any era before now, then I am sad to tell you that you are right.
The unsophisticated layperson gets confused about mass shooting, mass killing. After Sandy Hook, when everyone started to be experts on mass shootings, we saw a variety of organizations developing new databases. One in particular was the Mass Shooting Tracker. The argument they made is it doesn't matter if people die or not, they're still shot, and a mass shooting, according to them, is 4 more people shot. Problem is that these mass shooting numbers, which average about 300 a year, almost 1 a day, they're rolled out every time we have a mass killing. Historically, mass shooting was when 4 or more people were gunned down and killed. It's been that way for decades. We also have a term called active shooter, which the FBI has been researching, which is not a mass killing, even though when they published their report on active shooters, the press talked about an increase in mass shootings. The White House, the Attorney General started talking about this precipitous rise in active shooters.
In FBI's view, are active shooter scenarios on the uptick?
In our view, yes.
Well, problem is, there's no official data on active shooters. The only way they were able to obtain their data going back to 1999 was by going through the press. Old news stories, and they missed lots of cases.
Yeah, I think for the most part, journalists don't skew data with a particular agenda in mind. The problem is that it's very difficult, depending on which data you summon, to make sure you get the story right. For example, in the immediate coverage of the Orlando shooting, it was described as the
worst mass shooting in American history.
Well, that was true as long as you don't go back early in the 20th century, when there were a number of attacks on African Americans where the number of dead exceeded 100. One of the unintended consequences of intensive 24-hour media coverage is that it puts something in people's awareness and consciousness in a way that was never the case before. So I'm sure people's general awareness, or concern, consciousness of gun violence is heightened. Whether it actually reflects an increase in violent incidents is a matter more for sociologists and statisticians to tell us.
If you want great data, there's 2 sources. USA Today has a terrific, very complete database that goes back to 2006, and the Congressional Research Service has done a terrific job of tracking mass shootings all the way back to 1999. And if you look at their data, the Congressional Research Service data, no increase over the past couple decades. Sure, there's some years that are worse than others. We see spikes from time to time, but then the following years tend to be not quite so bad.